Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I know you've seen a familiar face. I've been on her channel, she's been on my channel. Anyway, my name is Priscilla Kumba. If you are new here, please feel at home, subscribe to my channel. And if you're already here, thanks for coming back, thanks for clicking on this video. I double as a lead consultant for USRN Pathway Consult. I'm a nurse from Ghana, live in New York City, America. Linda is a nurse from Nigeria, moved to UK to America. So she's the best person to talk about this topic we're about to discuss. Navigating childcare in America. Most of you want to relocate. Your most fear is, where will my children be placed? Will they find a school, daycare? Will they get nanny? Linda here is a mother, and she's gonna tell you all about what she does, how she's able to juggle it all. It's doable. People are doing it. We don't have nannies here. We don't have personal cousins who are helping us raise our kids, but we are making it happen. Linda, please let me save all the drama. Welcome to my channel once more.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Priscilla, for having me. I'm really excited to be back again and to talk about these things that I know a lot of people actually have asked you, I believe, and asked me a lot as well. So I believe that at the end of this video, you'll be able to go with something that can help you to plan. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So a brief introduction. Many people know you already, but can you just introduce yourself? She's a YouTuber, by the way. Linda, over to you. Introduction.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Linda Eze. I'm a registered nurse. I'm from Nigeria and I lived in the UK for a while and then I moved to the United States. It will be 1 year this month, I believe. So yeah,
Wow.
here in the US and I lived for about 4 years in the UK. So I also have a YouTube channel, like she said.
You have 3 children below the age of 6. I'm sure when you were also moving to the US, you had same fears. Where will I raise my kids? How will they go to school? How will I get help? Because you are also a full registered nurse working here, and I believe your partner is also working. So navigating childcare. How did you even find resources personally when you were making the move to America from UK?
Okay, so just to say that I have two kids. I have a 6-year-old and a soon to be 3-year-old child. So basically, I would say that if you are afraid of the childcare and everything in the US or UK or whatever, it is a valid fear, you know. And what I can say is that it depends on you personally. People have different ways that they actually navigate this childcare. So for me, what we do is that while I was in the UK, we never used nanny, we never used daycare. And here in the US as well, we are doing the same thing. Recently, I have been researching different options, and I actually noticed that the best thing you can do when you are looking for childcare in any of these countries is to actually research, find out what you have in your community, because I may say, okay, this is what happens or what works for me here in Texas. Maybe it's going to be different in New York City or wherever you find yourself, Pennsylvania or maybe Florida and all these other places that international nurses like to go. So what I can say is research what you have in your community, because sometimes even maybe your agency or if you follow direct hire, they might not be able to know exactly. Like the other day, I was telling a colleague that I'm not sure why they didn't even tell us that they have something like this for kids. So what I can say, the first thing is to research what you have in your community. You must have heard how childcare is expensive in the US, but listen, if you research the resources, you may find out that there are things that you can do to actually reduce the childcare cost. For example, where I live currently, I noticed that because my child is going to be 3 years old, and I was always wondering, like, how can I leave her at home, even if I have time and I have time to stay at home with her. It just looks odd to me that she's 3 years old and she's at home. So I was looking for, okay, I tried to look for daycare. Maybe she'll be able to see other kids and learn. But what I noticed that, you know, when you move to the US, they will tell you they have childcare is expensive, daycare is this. Most people tend to tell you about the daycare. They don't tell you about the private schools, because when you hear private schools, it's as if it's very expensive, so you don't even want to go there. So one day I just decided to explore the private schools, and I noticed that most of them will take half of what the daycare take. It's very like, it's mind open. Like, I was saying, like, why is private schools even cheaper than daycare, because daycare, they will tell you like how much they, depending on, maybe sometimes if they have good reviews, it's going to be like very expensive, and if you see cheap ones, it's going to have like very bad reviews. You don't want to take your kids to those places. But I noticed that those private schools, like Catholic schools for example, they are very, very cheap, and they can take your child from 2 years old. I was surprised. And then again is that I also found the library, because I was also wondering, okay, there must be something where these, these people that are here, where they take their kids when they are this young. I can't believe that there is nowhere they all take their kids to. So I begin to research. I found the library. I said library is a good place to find, like, even if nothing is there, they will be able to give you information of like things that are available. Okay, so I researched the library around, and I went to the library, and then I noticed that they have programs for kids every day. So I even ditched the daycare, the private school. I started taking my child every time I have time. I go to the library. They have programs for kids. Sometimes they have like challenges, they have clubs and all that, and they have it for all ages. And you can take your child from zero. And my child has learned a lot. And you know what? The library is free. They give you everything. One of the challenges that my child is doing right now in the library, they give us the book, the card, the everything free. You can you have access to so many apps that children can use to learn. And then you can borrow as much as 25 books. It's really, because when I found that, I was like, I didn't even know there's anything that is free in the US, because of what the media has made us to understand. So the first thing I always tell people is that know the resources around you, research. Don't always take it from people. Like I must have said, okay, this is what I found in my community. Maybe you even have something more in the place that you're going to find yourself. Don't always think one direction, because they say daycare, daycare, daycare. So even me, I was always researching daycare, daycare, because that is what I hear people talk about on YouTube and all of that, until I decided to let me even check the other one. I even see how much it is. And you know what? They will receive you so well, which is one of the things I love about the US. If you go to any school that you want to like understand what goes on, the way they will show you everything, they will tell you what they teach their children, they will tell you what they eat, show you everything and tell you how much it is right from time. And depending on how old your child is going to be different. But what I have found in all the private schools I found for kids below 5, they are always half of the daycare. And if you're worried about the time, usually people say, okay, daycare we have like from morning till 6 p.m. This one is just like a regular school, from 7 to 3, which is sizable. Like it's a good time for you to keep your child. And so yeah, so my first one, I know I've talked too much, but my first one is research on the resources around you, and you will be surprised, honestly.
Talking about research, even most of our workplaces that we do work, they have facilities that can take your kid as an employee of that facility. They either have their own daycare attached to the hospital where you work, or they have a discount just because you're an employee of that workplace. You can get some discount to take your child there, and the rates are really good. So, you said your child is almost going to be 3 years, and the first one is 6 years. What is the age at which the child goes to school in America?
Okay, so what I've noticed here is that from 5 years old, that is their kindergarten, but they also have the preschool. The preschool is from, I think, from 3 years, depending on where you live. But where I am right now is from 4 years. So you need to apply as of like, for now, their school year normally starts in August. So now they have already applied to, if you want your child to go to preschool, and it is free as well. From preschool, it should be free. So you have to apply on time. So the advantage is that if you're an immigrant, you are really qualified for it. Once you say that you are bilingual in your application, so you have like almost 100% chance of getting in, unless you say English. I think some might not get in, but what we have seen, the hack that they told us is that if you're an immigrant and when you're applying you say bilingual, you are almost sure that your child will get in. So that preschool is like, they give it's a priority. That, I mean, like, they don't give everyone. They feel like if you really need it, then they are going to give you. But from 5 years of the kindergarten, then you can go to school free of charge, right? And then the preschool is if you are qualified, and this is one of the ways that you can get qualified as an immigrant, that bilingual if you say that you're bilingual, something like that, then it's easy for you to for your child to go. So where you are, just like I said before, just research when some. I know that some counties they call it like start from 3 years, some 4 years. So for us here is 4 years. So yeah, and then before then you have to pay for any type of childcare that you want to get.
So when it comes to payment, have you paid something so far, and what amount is it? Is it weekly, monthly? How is the whole thing run? Like you pay and you add breakfast, or you get, do they get food in the school? I just want to know everything about your first child.
Okay, so for my first child that is in the kindergarten, first of all, it's free for kindergarten when she started when we just moved here, so from 5 years old. So it's free, and we are told to give her snacks. So in school they get milk and they get lunch. I don't know whether they get breakfast, but I know they get food, and then we are encouraged to also give them maybe snacks. So for my child, I give her snacks when she goes to school, and then she eats lunch in school. So and then yeah, it's free. So, but for my other child that is 3 years old, when I was researching to see if I'll take her to private school, the private school I found was $450 per month, as against 600 to 800, sometimes 900 daycare. For private school that I would have taken her to, that I'm still thinking of for August, is around four something. But I've in the library, I had the opportunity of meeting other parents that has kids, and I noticed that some other private schools, maybe they pay 250, they pay 150. Then if you are on low income, for instance, you come as HCA, for some people that have that opportunity, and your income is at some level, they also have programs for, like, some of those schools is as if they are made to also consider your income bracket. So if the household income is within a certain range, is also going to determine how much you're going to pay for childcare, right? So that is something we should also understand. One thing that I've seen that a lot of people don't also talk about when they talk about things in the US is that sometimes when you spend on your kids as well, when you spend on your kids in terms of childcare, you keep the receipts, you keep all the evidence, like if you paid for anything, healthcare, childcare, all of that, it is advisable to keep the receipts. But I've seen that one thing I have noticed here that I never ever heard from anyone before I came to the US is that at the beginning of the year, when you do your tax return and all of that, and you have kids and you have paid anything at all for them, then the government tends to give it back to you, which is really, really huge, like a lot of money too. So this is something people don't share, but I feel that this is really, really helpful. Like some of my colleagues, we were like, I didn't know that the government can save money for you in the beginning of the year. They just give you this kind of amount of money. So if childcare is something that you're really, really worried about, there are a lot of options like we have already talked about, and if you just like look and ask, you'll be able to find these things too.
Yeah, so a lot of research has to be done. In filing your tax return, even as an adult, if you spend some money on some medical supplies and stuff, you can always show those receipts and you end up getting some money back depending on how you file the tax, depending on the state you find yourself, the income, the household income. A lot of factors go into tax return. And there are resources there. Unless you ask the right people, you would never know. So those of you out there watching and worried about coming to America and I have 4 kids, I don't know what to do, most advisable is that the person who has the job has to take the lead and then settle down, find appropriate housing, find a school, and then bring the kids later on to come and join you. You should always look at the calendar and time the kids are coming, so that you find the school, do all the prep, and then they can go and enroll in the school. As she said, the school calendar normally starts in August. And if you're looking for a school for your kid, you have to start way ahead of that, because the classes are not large. You don't find 100 of 70 kids in one class. Some of the classes maximum 5, 10, 15, and they are done. So you have to be in a waiting list or a line before you get your child in. So what is the routine like? Do you get your first child on the bus? Do you drop the kid off in the school? Do the teachers pick the kid up for you? What time is the closing time? And if you are not there on time, do they hold the kids till you get there before you grab your kid and go home?
On that as well, I would say that when immediately we came to the US, I had like someone that talked to us about schooling and taking children to school and all of that. She didn't sound like using a school bus is a very good thing. Maybe because of where she lives or something like that. But my experience is this. That's why I always say sometimes you also try to know what is available to you where you are. So when we came, I never even checked the school bus. So we were always dropping our child to school. And then one day they told us, you know, your child has the option of using the school bus, and that yeah, like, so we decided to try it, and we've never gone back. So they come to they come to in front of the house to pick my child, and they have people that work in the bus. They will literally come down to the bus and pick your child, and then they will bring my child. So we just need to know the time when they will bring my child and the time they will take my child. And it doesn't look very crowded. It looks very safe to me. And we see that they have teachers. It's not, they don't just leave the kids in there. So they have the, people that work in the bus as well. So we found it very, 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 very useful. So we use the school bus for my child that is in kindergarten, and they bring her home and they take her as well. I know that when I was dropping my child, I also see parents that drop their children, and we were always wondering why is it that so many people, like, we don't see so many cars like waiting like that. We do see like a lineup, but before you know it, they're all gone, and we're always wondering, okay, where are other kids? So the school bus really works. You just need to find out if it will work for you. Maybe it's working for me, but maybe it won't work for you. But just try to explore these resources. Don't try to suffer yourself for no reason. Okay. So yeah, they have school buses that are really good. So you
Yeah.
can that option. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the bus system is really good. You just have to be an adult there to give the child to them and also pick up the child, and that is for safety reasons. So, what are the school hours? What time do they go and what time do they close?
Yeah, so what we found out is that because my child uses school bus, so they usually pick her up before 7:30. But when I was dropping her, we are also supposed to drop her before 7:45. So if you drop your child at 8, they call it tardy, like almost late. And if it is after 8, then the child is late, and you get like in the reports you see that how many times your child is late to school. So it's really amazing how early they take their child. And even when I was trying to see if my child can go to the little one can go to the pre-K, they also start around 7:30 and 8. So, and then they end by 3 p.m. too. So good time where we are right now.
Wow. So, have you ever used the services of a house help or a nanny, or dropping your child with somebody, or a sitter, or somebody coming to your house?
So I've not used any of those, but I also explore those as well. And I noticed that usually they charge between $10 to $20 depending on their experience. Sometimes they are students, university students that help out. Sometimes they are very experienced. Sometimes they are trained to look after children. So they have people that are really trained and people that are not trained, but they have experience to look after the kids. So they have this website care.com, and they also have in Texas, they also have, I forgot this number, that just find out any state that you go to, there is a number you can call if you don't know any resources at all. They'll give you all the resources about maybe the childcare centers around you. If you need it as emergency, you can also call them and say, I need childcare tomorrow and it seems as if I can't find one. Do you know of any agency around me? So you just need to give them your postcode and they will search around and they will give you information that you need. So that is for emergency childcare. And they can also give you general information about like where you can access childcare as well. And then if you want to use care.com, that's the popular one that people always recommend. So if you go to care.com, you'll be able to find people that are registered nannies, and yeah, they'll be able to, you can request for their services, tell them. So what I usually see is between that $10 and $20. Yeah.
Wow.
Per hour, right?
Yes, per hour, just so you know, per hour. Yes. And these people are they are registered with agencies. They are like in a au pair system. They register with agencies. They are well tested and tried, no criminal background. They do medical checkups, make sure they are safe to come into your home, make sure they are safe to have raise babysit your kids. You either send the kids to them or they come to your home, and the rates differ. Oh, the most commonest one for almost all of us African immigrants is running shift with your partner. I'm sure you've tried that many times.
That's what.
How is that going?
Yeah, so we just run shit when I'm not working. My husband is working. Like now, I'm with the kids and he's working. And the day I'm working, he might be working. Maybe I'll work night shifts. And what helped me in the UK is to only work in the night. So that helps him to work either night or day, depending on. So when he's around, then I'm working. And when I'm working, then he's there for the kids. So that's why we are not really feeling it that much. So one thing I can say on this is just know what your goals are, because I don't believe that you should travel abroad and then you throw away your life because you want to make money. Any of these countries, the more you work, the more money you make. Especially in America, they work a lot here, but it depends on your goal. If you want to have that time for your kids, usually what people say is in America they don't have holiday and all that, but I actually feel that it's still well structured. They know that people are human beings. So for nurses, what I have seen that so many organizations is 36 hours. That is 3 days a week, so you have 4 days off if you want to. And then some that added one more day that they call it like mandatory overtime. They are going to pay you more for that, obviously. But if you, okay, let's say you have mandatory overtime in the UK, it's also 3-4. So but if you decide to stay those other 3 days, then you have enough time to stay with your family. So what I can say is that if you know that you have kids and you know that their welfare is like you don't want to be worried about childcare, you can decide to work around the kids and you will be fine. And then yeah, so maybe the person that makes more money in the family can work more. That way you not be worried about the kind of childcare, someone that is looking after your kids. And then you can also use those other resources I said. So if you're worried about your kids going to school, then you can decide to send them to a private school instead. So that way you are able to pick and choose. But if you are relying on this childcare, then that's when you will be worried. And again, the other things I've seen people do is to bring their mother, or I usually think that bringing a parent is better than bringing a sibling, because a sibling that you bring would also want to make money, right? And you will not like the person not to go to school or to try to go and get a job because they are looking after your kids for you. So I've seen African parents or maybe parents from India are looking after their kids, and I feel like that is really amazing too. So if it is something that you can do, that is also a good option. But also bear in mind maybe something like health insurance for them and all that.
Yeah. Talking of resources, there's also a visa category you can apply for your domestic stuff. If you are used to having house helps or nannies back home in Africa or wherever you're watching from, and you really want to bring those people. Some of us have had cousins who lived with us for so long, they raised our kids and we want to migrate and come with them. You can use the right channel, apply for the domestic style visa for them. It's a whole lot of dynamic goes into that. If you can prove that you're not trafficking them and a whole lot, you can bring them. Some of them, you bring them, it becomes a whole drama for you and your family, and you want to stay away from that. So just be cautious. So in terms of health insurance for the kids, I know you've not had the privilege of giving birth in America and having to pay labor and delivery fee and all that stuff. But health insurance, are the kids having a separate insurance? Are they on your job insurance? How is the health insurance system for the children you have?
Okay, so for my kids, they are on my health insurance. And I think many nurses that come here, their kids or their family, they are on their own insurance, or maybe if your spouse is working, they can also be on their own insurance. So if most nurses that come, their job will always come with insurance, and then you can add your kids. For kids healthcare, what I've seen people do is that they also, instead of if your employer, the health insurance is expensive, they go shopping for a cheaper health insurance for their kids. And I've also noticed, because if your child turns maybe 2, 3, there is always a well child visit. And maybe sometimes too they have, you can decide to just take them for a well child visit. Those visits are usually free. And again, is if you decide anything that is preventive, maybe you want them to just check out their, maybe their teeth or whatever, like it's preventive, not that they are sick, but you want them to be checked out for some reason, it's usually free. And then if they are ill or they are referred for expert service, maybe they want them to see a cardiologist or whatever, then you pay a percentage, which is not really a lot. Maybe it depends on the kind of healthcare that you receive too. So, but that has been our experience with the kids.
It's very important to add that documentation is key. So if you have your children, you're back home, you're thinking of relocating to any country, not US per se, make
Mhm.
sure the birth certificate is done the right way, have a passport for them, keep all their immunization record, immunization, vaccination, keep all those records so that when you transfer over, they're going to ask you for evidence. Have they received BCG? Have they received this TB shot, this tetanus shot? You need to be able to have those handy as well. So let's talk about a little bit of still childcare. The older kids, let's say between the ages of 8, 9, 10, 11, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5. I know you're not in that gap area though, but the educational system, is it free for kids that are older? People have kids that are 11 years old, 14 years old.
Yeah, I think generally in America, the from kindergarten to primary, secondary, there is free. It's from college that they begin to pay, and with students loan and all of that. Yes. So, but just like in the UK as well, I think UK from 3 years free till college. Then from university, that I mean college, whatever they call it. But after the secondary school, then they can pay for school fees. But here in America too is free. So maybe let's say later, maybe from 4 years, 5 years.
Yes. So not everything in America is expensive as people portray it. The jobs are there. You would make the money. You will pay for certain things. You get some back in tax return. Some will go back in the system to cater for those who are below who cannot afford it. Many Africans and immigrants are culprits of having 5, 10 children because you can file your tax return and get as high as $15,000 because I know a family nearby who got that money. That doesn't mean that go and produce children just because you want to get money back in on behalf of your children. Also, there are support systems around, there are resources. Until you ask around, you would never know. You
Yeah.
can go and deliver for free and other resources that you would never ask the library and everything. So do a lot of research, watch a lot of these videos that we do and bring to you, and educate yourself. Any advice to parents that are having anxiety about relocating to any country, US, wherever, and worried about childcare? Any advice, anything you wish you knew or you'd have done earlier, anything you want to tell them, please?
Okay, so my top advice, I must have touched on this and all of this, is to research and go to the source. I mean, like a lot of people, like even us that make videos on YouTube, sometimes most of what we are going to be talking about, even when we research, sometimes even our opinion and our experiences will come into it. And I will always say that sometimes your own experience is going to be different. Where you're going to find yourself is different. So it's possible that you even have more resources or less resources. So until you go to the source, stop saying this person said this. Just like I gave an example of what my own employer told us, that is not even the case when I eventually got to this place in Texas. So I had to find those things myself because I had experience maybe in the UK and I know exactly where to go and find that information. So try to educate yourself, ask other people, especially if you find yourself in a community where you have other parents. So if you migrate to the UK, find somewhere that you will see other parents. Maybe it's your church, or maybe it's if you have someone that's already in school and they have programs for parents. There you find people that will give you all those ideas. Like someone telling me that she's only paying like 150, and I know I may not find that 150. Maybe she didn't tell me what her income bracket is, but she did tell me that private schools are even cheaper. And I noticed that at the end of the day, when I started going to that library, meeting other parents, and all of them, like, the indigenes here, they know, and they take their kids to private schools because they know it's cheaper. But for some of us that are immigrants at work, they say, no, I don't take my child to school until 5 years. And I'm like, so this exists. I mean, this exists, and and that's why you see their kids, they are so smart in the beginning. And then we don't even in the library sometimes. I'm encouraging my co-workers, take your kids to the library. They don't even know that it exists. So my top advice is to don't think it's something that you can do. Yeah, it's difficult. Like now we're making videos and my kids are noisy and all that because I don't have someone to. That is a challenge for many people, but you get used to it. Let it not be your main reason why you say you will not go there because childcare is difficult. People do it all the time and you eventually get used to it. Just make sure you are exposing yourself to, the environment, the resources available to you. Go for it. I mean, one thing that I always tell people when they tell me that they got a job in America, or maybe they are not being treated correctly, I try to tell them, don't think it's because of your color or anything. That person that treated you well is just an employee, one little employee working somewhere. Maybe it's just somebody like me behind a computer telling you things that you don't like. That doesn't mean that every other person is like that. So just see yourself that I'm in this environment. I need to, bloom where I am planted. Like, I need to just make sure I live the best life I can where I found myself. So that is my top advice for you. Go to the source, find information, go to people that will tell you exactly what you need, and you'll find yourself very happy at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And one advice for me to us immigrants and Africans especially, a parenting style back home is entirely different to what we have here. Let's try and involve our kids in activities, take them to the library to read with them, take them to swimming lessons, skiing, let them involve in sports, go and watch your kids' games and stuff, not just work home, school, work home. There are other extracurricular activities that will build a child's mind and open them and give them that exposure and be involved in those activities as well. Thank you very much, Linda, for gracing this channel. You're the best person to come talk about this. I'll definitely bring you back. We talk about childcare. There's weekend and the kids are around padding the background noise. I hope the message is clear. She's a YouTuber. That's her channel name, Linda Is there. Please head over and subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. Share this video with others. Don't panic about relocating. It's doable. People are doing it, we are doing it, and you can also do it. Until then, see you in my next video. And before I forget, there's a USA Nursing Career Expo happening live in Accra, Ghana by USRN Pathway Consult, and I will be at that event live in Ghana. It's happening 14th April 2023. It's a Friday. It's happening at 8 to 5 p.m. and I cannot wait to see you. If you are in nursing school, if you are a nurse doing a national service or rotation, if you're a registered nurse who's been working all these years and you are interested in working in USA, you are interested in writing NCLEX, and the whole process is confusing, you don't know where to start from, whether to go with agency, self-sponsorship, whatever, come and let's teach her in GRNMA head office, Accra, Ghana, and you would not regret it. Take care and bye-bye.